Interesting.
I used to rule the world.
And I see the Lord.
Welcome to Oddball. I'm Amin Elhassan back home in Phoenix. And look who's joining us from her sick bed. It's Charlotte Wilder.
Hello, I mean,
Oh my gosh. You sound sick.
I
You
sound.
look fine, but you sound sick.
Thank you so much once again. The magic of concealer. Like if you could see the blue under my eyes right now, it's really a testament. Shout out to NARS. NARS concealer should sponsor me for the amount of free publicity I'm giving them. But no, I mean, I'm thrilled to be back. I've missed you. I've missed Oddball. I've missed the NBA, and I am ready to give some really weird takes today, given how my brain is working.
Our COVID riddled brain will delight you all. All right. So a little bit later, we got the second half of our conversation with Vinny Goodwill. This is where we get into it about Damian Lillard, about saving Detroit, and a lot of other fun topics there. But first, I want to start with something we didn't have time to get to yesterday, which was Joel Embiid's meniscus procedure has been completed, and he's expected to return this season. And when I heard that, the first thing I thought was that sounds like a meniscectomy. The word I can't say, a meniscusectomy, is when they
They
take
took it
out
out. It
they
sounds like
remove
they
the
took it out.
meniscus. So I run to the Twitter account that I find to be the most informative in times of injury and explaining injuries and time missed and all that. And that's my good friend Jeff Stotts at In Street Clothes. And this is what he tweeted. R.E. Embiid. As the vagueness on specifics continues, the hope for a late season return suggests Embiid underwent a meniscectomy. I can't say that word, but you see it on your screen right there. And so, Charlotte,
Mm-hmm.
as Jeff has explained to me before, sometimes it's not a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it is a choice. Do you want the repair with the longer recovery, but the better long-term prognosis, or do you want the removal with a quicker recovery, but heightened chances of arthritic conditions, et cetera, et cetera? Sometimes that's a choice. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's torn in such a way that the only thing they can do is remove it. If it were a choice, though, Charlotte,
Mm-hmm.
how would you, famed Boston fan, feel about this for Joel Embiid?
I would feel very bad if this were a choice. If he were able to either repair it with a better long-term prognosis, as you said, or if they had to remove it. We saw, you mentioned Boston, we saw what happened to Time Lord, to Robert Williams III, who has not been the same since he had the meniscectomy, since he
You
had
can't
his
say it either.
meniscus removed, since he had his meniscus removed. And I think with Embiid, first of all, with Williams, it's like here's this he had so much potential, right? Like with Embiid,
Mm-hmm.
we know what he's been. We know
Mm-hmm.
what he can be. We know what he was this season before he got hurt. And to me, it's like you're playing with fire if it were a choice and you didn't choose to choose the long-term option. Now, obviously, we don't know. We don't know anything going on here, which I mean, I ask you, do you think it's a little weird how vague the Sixers are
Uh,
being, or do you think it makes sense?
I no, I think it's completely weird because of it's not like a mystery injury or ailment. We know
Right.
what a meniscus tear is. That happens all the time, and guys get the procedure, and some guys come back and are fine, and some guys come back and are not. But all of this subterfuge and kind of cloak and dagger stuff, I don't know who it's supposed to help. I think sometimes teams think if we keep things close to the vest, that will quell speculation.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it's the opposite. When you leave too many blank spaces to what is clearly a public story, the public will fill those blank spaces with whatever they want. And so this can very easily turn from, hey, this was the only procedure that he could get, to, oh, they made him get this thing so he could rush back and see what happened. And that all comes from that void that
Mm-hmm.
they choose to keep unoccupied with facts. So I don't know.
I just saw an article about how King Charles cancer diagnosis, the fact that that Buckingham Palace is not giving enough detail
What kind
is
of cancer?
causing it's like wreaking havoc in Britain.
Yeah.
So Joel Embiid is our king, and we need information as well.
Yes. King Embiid.
King Embiid.
What's the deal with the knee? But sadly, the All-Star roster selection is a zero-sum game, Charlotte, meaning for every tragedy of Joel Embiid is hurt and he's not going to make it, there is a joy of someone getting that call saying, you know what? You're in, kid. And so Embiid and Julius Randle are both going to miss the All-Star game due to injury. And the league has already announced their injury replacements. Trae Young and Scotty Barnes. Charlotte, as I mentioned a second ago, you are our resident Bostonian. How do you feel about Kristaps Porzingis getting snubbed not once, but twice now?
First of all, I have a Scotty Barnes. Like, what? I have Adam Silver selects these guys, right? I mean,
yes, this is the commissioner's office that makes the call.
Do they like golf together or something? Because like between Kristaps and even Karl Anthony Towns, it's like also you're replacing Embiid. Like, wouldn't you want another big guy? Like, I know Scotty's 6'7", but
he's a front court player. Like all they have to do is replace front court with front court.
It's not like who out there is like, man, Scotty Barnes isn't even the biggest name you could put it.
Whoa, hello, Coach Darko on line one.
Oh, sorry,
that?
Darko.
Scotty Barnes is gonna be all-star. He's gonna be the face of this league.
I forgot.
That's right, face of the league.
So I mean,
how dare you, Charlotte?
First of all, sorry, Scotty. I mean, no disrespect.
Second sorry, of all, Darko.
Sorry, Darko. I'm sorry. First of all, I'm sorry for everything to everybody. Let's just blanket apology here in general. I mean, what's going on? What Trae Young? I get. Sure. I saw this and I was very confused. Can you explain any of this to me?
I think okay. So part of this also, remember, so last year, this is the part where I don't want to jump to conclusions because of what happened last year. Last year there was an injury and James Harden was called by the league to say, hey, do you want this spot? And he was pouting and decided to pout for so many days that the league just moved on and handed it to someone else. So I don't know. Maybe Kristaps Porzingis said, I'd rather have the time off, because that's the other thing I think that people don't realize or recognize. Another name in that is Jimmy Butler. Maybe Jimmy Butler was offered, and I can absolutely see Jimmy Butler saying thanks, but no thanks. I'd rather have the time off. He once famously took the time off while being an all-star in LA, where I still remember, it's like, why is he here if he doesn't want to do anything? So I think I don't want to jump to conclusions and say these were the first two names on the list, or at least Scotty Barnes was the first name on the list for the league, because perhaps maybe other guys were offered and they just didn't feel like it, particularly knowing that Porzingis has been an all-star before. Jimmy Butler has been an all-star many times before. So maybe, and also, let's throw this out there. Hey, I know you already had your vacation planned to the Bahamas, but do you want to come to Indiana and have to work the whole time? Like, I could see how someone who's been there, done that would say, I'll take my chances next year.
All right, I mean, we've got our all-star reserves, substitutions, selections, whatever you want to call them. What is it?
Eloquent.
Reserves? What is it? Reserve?
Injury replacements.
Injury replacements.
Yes.
I told you all this is going to be a wild ride. We also got the dunk contest participants.
Yes.
And there was a last name on here that I was not expecting to have the first name that went with it. Can you do the honors? Can you tell us who's in this?
It's okay. So it's Mac McClung, who's coming back to defend his title. You've got Jacoby Toppin, Jaylen Brown, and you got Jaime Jaquez Jr. I'm gonna guess you're confused about Jaime's presence here. That's the Jaquez that we got.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I was gonna say. No, the Jacob. You see, you see the headline. It's like Brown, Toppin, and I'm like, oh, cool. Obi's gonna be in it. But, you know, I feel like the dunk contest to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like they have been having a lot of fun zigging when everyone thinks they're going to zag.
You
Like,
think they've had fun with that? The COVID has absolutely eaten its way through her cerebral cortex.
sorry,
No,
they
please.
are cursed. They are cursed
Yeah.
with having to zig when everybody zags.
There it is.
And these are the people that they can get to do this. I was shocked that Jaylen Brown is doing this. Absolutely
It's the
shocked.
ultimate zig, right? It's almost like they zig when everyone else zags, but then they zigged again. Like they zigged another time.
They zigged so far back that they actually ended up zagging.
Zagging back, yeah. Jacob Toppin is Obi Toppin's brother. I'm hoping they're bloodlines here. I'd be lying to you if I've seen this. I told you I've seen this kid play, and I know there's a delusion. Nick fans are gonna come in here like, oh, he never watches this play. I'm sorry, I don't watch the games where Tibbs has COVID and starts throwing in the scrubs. I'm literally going sight unseen on this kid, saying his brother can dunk. I'm guessing he can too. Not since Gerald Wilkins competing in the dunk contest, brother of Dominique Wilkins, have we had one of a contestant appear simply by proxy and by proximity to greatness, right?
Yeah.
To great dunking, at least. So then you've got Mac McClung, again, a G League player who is going to get called up, I guess, to be eligible to defend his title. Again, I'm not sure I'm a big fan of the workaround by the league, the loophole. It's like people who don't believe in premarital sex going to get married in Vegas to have sex and then going and get divorced immediately after. Like, I don't think it should work like that, where God is like, damn it, they got me on that loophole again. And same thing, like, damn it, the league got us on that loophole again, right? And Jaime Jaquez, which this is one of your favorite players, Charlotte. He's smart. He can shoot it a little. He could do a little bit of everything on the court. One thing that I had not walked away from watching a lot of Jaime Jaquez is, wow, that guy can really dunk.
No, I mean, I walk away from Jaime Jaquez being like, oh my God, it is so fun to watch a rookie be like a solid, good player who helps out his team, who's really making a difference. I have not walked away being like when we went to the Celtics Heat game, the person that I walked away being like, oh man, can he dunk, was Luke Kennard.
Yeah.
He dunked like 3 times. And I was like, okay.
That was Grizzlies Heat. Your COVID rattle brain happens again. Yes. But yes, that was the game before Celtics Heat. It was on back-to-back nights, ladies and gentlemen.
No, that was, sorry, Luke Cornett.
Luke Cornett.
Oh my God.
Wow. Okay. Now you're on your own. Luke Cornett was Celtics Heat, which was the second night. He dunked. He did dunk. He did dunk. It feels like the lowest of hanging fruit for your selection process, right? Like, hey, I'm picking dunkers. Who should I pick? Not putting any names out there, but I'm just saying people who dunk.
A guy who's dunked.
Guys who can jump. That's the prereq. That's the prereq. And so they're going like Jaquez. Why? What's that? And then it's like Toppin. I don't know if he can, but his brother can. So, and then Mac McClung doesn't play in the league, but that's just a technicality. We'll get around it. And then, like you said, they zigged so hard they came back around and zagged. And then you get Jaylen Brown, who's the first All-Star in years to compete in this thing. And thank you, Jaylen Brown. First, we should say thank you very much for bringing legitimacy to this thing, which has lacked legitimacy as previously described. I'm all for we get to discover new people through this thing. So, like maybe not all having to be all-stars, but it's got to be people that we have a chance of hearing from. Like, no offense, Jacob Toppin is not. Hold on. I'm going to be on Basketball Reference right now. You want some Jacob Toppin fun facts, ladies and gentlemen?
Give me some. While you do that, can I just say the one I agree with you that the loophole is a little silly with Mac McClung. I really love watching that kid dunk. So, at least that there's a little return on investment. Like the loophole, you might have gone to Vegas, but it was worth it. Let's put it that way.
All right. So first of all, Jacob Toppin has played in 3 games. He's played 1 more minute than games. He's played 4 minutes across 3 games. Not 4 minutes per game, 4 minutes total. He's played 12 games in Westchester for the Westchester Knicks, which is nice.
Okay.
Averaging 20 points a game there and shooting 37.5 from 3. So he's shown to be a good G League player, and maybe he should be in the G League dunk contest, which, by the way, is something that exists, right? Probably not. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that. Mac McClung, we talked about, he's not even in the league. He's only going to be in the league in order to be in this dunk contest. And Jaime Jaquez is a name that we are going to hear from, but not for dunking.
Listen,
not now, not in the
what-
future, not ever.
I'll tell you, if Jaime Jaquez comes out there and it turns out that he puts up the best dunk contest performance we've seen in years, I will be surprised and thrilled. Who's to say?
I will go to the next Heat game I'm at, and I go to a lot of them. I will come up to him and apologize. I'm not saying he has to win the dunk contest.
Oh, yeah.
But if he comes out with some wild dunks, I will walk up to him. I'll bring Thomas and the camera crew and everybody to come document me apologizing. I'm going to say, I'm sorry, I wasn't familiar with your resume. Clearly, you can do this. If he does. If he just goes up there and does like some what I like to call some 1988 dunks, nah, man.
Listen, I will also say one thing. If there is a drone involved in the dunk contest, I'm going to run out onto the court and swat it down. And that's a promise.
Okay, time for the second half of our conversation with Vinny Goodwill of Yahoo Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at Vince Goodwill. Listen to his podcast, The Good Word with Goodwill. It's on the NBA Ball Don't Lie podcast network for Yahoo Sports. We're going to get into Damian Lillard, the Milwaukee Bucks, what success is for Doc Rivers, and of course, I couldn't get away without, a little good-natured ribbing about Detroit. All right, I want to move on here from the Joe D conversation to something that happened, I guess, a couple of days ago. Damian Lillard came out and he said that, look, I've been going through a lot, and it's not necessarily getting traded or moving to a new city. It's a lot in my family life, a divorce I'm going through and all that. And so I guess, if you look back a year ago, maybe he wasn't thrilled about where his career was going and where the Portland Trailblazers were happening. But it certainly feels like in the span of a year, his life has turned upside down so many different ways. Mm-hmm. This is going to sound wild. Like, how happy can Damian Lillard be, even within the Bucks organization? Isn't this kind of like, isn't he set up in a way that, like, man, there's nothing that's going to heal what he's gone through over the last, 8-9 months or so?
I think the big thing for me with a guy like Dame is we've said Dame values his comfort. We've said that from afar. We've always, even the people who know him or know him from a distance, has said Dame is comfortable where he is with that organization, with that city. And this is the total opposite of comfort. Yeah. This is, everything is up in the air. Home life, parental life, with, a man with 3 kids who now exits the locker room early, after games, so he can have more time to talk with his kids because they're 3 time zones away, and who knows where he is, because, NBA, you're here one day, you're gone the next. I don't even know if happy should be in the equation. Like, I don't know how happy guys are to begin with. Let's be perfectly honest. Like, I think Adam Silver said a few years ago, guys are more miserable than ever with social media and everything else. And this is a different type of, I'm not sure how happy I'm going to be. I think it's a matter of managing, maybe not necessarily coping, but managing the situation, managing where he is. And he said it, and I was really surprised at it. He said, look, some people say the game is a sanctuary, and, once I'm playing, I leave everything behind. He said, no, sometimes I'm in 2 places at once. And I thought that was really revealing, because most of us think of players as turning that switch on and off when the lights come on.
Yeah, and so within that context, what are we totally appreciating the monumental task ahead of Doc Rivers, right? Where you're not only fixing a broken defense and an offense that isn't quite as unlocked as it needs to be. We talk about those 2 types of players and the way they interact with one another, but also you're trying to help someone kind of move on with their lives. Like, I guess my question is, what's the metric? How do we measure whether Doc's doing a good job or not?
Man, I don't know. Because one thing about Doc Rivers is either you believe he's massively overrated or you believe he's underappreciated. And there is very little middle ground in that. You think of Doc Rivers as the guy that, 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, lose the series, Doc Rivers, or you think of Doc Rivers as the guy who can coach contending teams. I don't know if it's neither overrated or underrated or underappreciated. I think it lies somewhere in the middle, but nobody's coming off their post, right? Everybody has their first impressions, opinions about Doc Rivers right now. How he measures success is being able to get that team on one page and developing an identity. I've never seen a team, that's this good. Like, the Bucks are good, right? Mm-hmm. They have one of the best offenses in the league, and you have two superstars that are going to show up night after night, and they're going to play, if not play well. But aside from that, I don't know what their signature is. And this is a team that won a championship not that long ago. Right. But you don't know what their signature is. And to me, that's what Doc Rivers is going to have to come in there and do. But to do that, guys have to be on board. Like, I won't say distractions is a word, but guys have to be able to compartmentalize. And I don't know if Doc Rivers seems warm and fuzzy to be able to walk someone through a divorce and a relocation and to get them all on the same page long enough with 50 games into the season. We're 60%, 62% through the season. Yeah. Like, I don't know how much change a coach can actually make. April is around the corner.
Right. Vinny, I can't let you go without poking a little fun at your hometown of Detroit. You cut your teeth to the Detroit News. You're a lifelong Detroit native and a rooter of all things Detroit except for the Lions.
As long as you get it right. As long as you get it right.
Except for the Lions until Barry Sanders comes back. If Barry Sanders comes back, would you come back with him?
Yeah, if Barry comes back and he's 29 years old, yeah, I'll be back.
But I want to ask, because the Pistons obviously have been through the toughest season of their franchise history, an NBA record consecutive losses streak, a team that many nights is not competitive. And so what's the light at the end of the tunnel for the Detroit Pistons? So I want you to turn to the camera right now. I want you to talk to all your cousins and all your friends that you grew up with in Detroit. Say, Vinny, when the Pistons going to be good again, man? So what's the light at the end of the tunnel?
So if you want me to do my President Obama, my presidential voice, let me be clear. Let me be clear. To the citizens of Detroit, Piston fans across the country, or across the city, change is coming. Not sure when, not sure who. Change is coming. When you say change, I mean April, as in the end of the season. Like, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. I can't do it. You put it like this. Detroit has players that you could say will be useful and helpful. But, this is by far one of the worst defenses I've ever seen. Like, they've had games, and you know this from being on every side of it. There comes a point in every game, y'all, where one team has it going, the other team doesn't. It's a 15-point lead, and the team says, you know what, we're going to pack it in. We got to live to fight another game. We got game in 36 hours. We just going to not do it. The Pistons never put a game out of reach because their defense is so bad and their turnovers are so egregious. Those are two things that you cannot have in today's NBA because of the pace of play. You cannot have a piss-poor defense and a team that cannot take care of the ball. So even the games that they should win, they don't win. So I don't know what the light at the end of the tunnel is. I've seen them be competitive against OKC and the Clippers, and they've had close games, but they can't finish them because of these fatal flaws. So I would say the light at the end of the tunnel is the end of the season, and, maybe you get Tobias Harris in free agency.
1, 2, 3 Cancun is basically your light at the
Bora
tunnel.
Bora. I heard Bora Bora is pretty nice in April.
His name's Vinny Goodwill. You can catch him on the Good Word podcast and also all his writing on Yahoo Sports. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Did you like my Obama?
I asked Sasha, Michelle, Malia, what'd you think? And they said, I don't know. I think his Obama needs some work, just like the Pistons.
Yours is better than mine.
I've been doing mine for damn near a decade now, man.
It's better than your Jason Jackson, but your Jason Jackson is pretty
to every
good.
man, woman, and child, I say welcome.
Stroke juice.
The Juice is loose.